going to assume we may already be on. Okay, yeah, we're on. All right, welcome to the April 8th, 2024 meeting of the Riverfront Advisory Committee. There are no members of the public for comment. Acceptance of the minutes from March 11th.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from March 11th. It was a minor edit. Somebody wants to second it, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay.
There was a minor edit that, a spelling mistake that
Okay.
Betsy caught.
Fair enough. Then, yeah, all in favor to amend the minutes as amended?
Yeah.
Aye. Okay, excellent. New and central business today, Stratford County Regional Planning Commission. Can they give us an update on some master plan related things? And I'm not going to set your agenda. You guys tell us what you want to talk about.
I'll just do a quick intro. Hi, Marvin Denman, Planning Director, Town Newmarket. Today, we're here to do kind of a build upon what we accomplished at March 16th visioning session. And specifically, we're going to focus on the Riverfront vision. So just to give you kind of an overview of what's happening this week, we're calling this Vision Week, and at individual committees or board meetings, we're having the same conversation, but different aspects from a visioning perspective. For example, planning board, more focused on housing related issues, visioning, but also, kind of incorporating general visioning on where we want to go as a town. And then on Wednesday, master plan subcommittee, same thing. And Thursday, conservation with more focus on conservation. So, like I said today, Jen Sidis, Director, Stratford Regional Planning Commission, Executive, she's here today to help facilitate that conversation for the downtown Riverfront. Again, this is a new chapter that will be incorporated, or at least presented to the planning board for their consideration of adoption. There's been a lot, as you all know, as the Riverfront Advisory Committee, a lot of discussion on how to move forward with the Riverfront. How is it currently used by the public, and how do we want to make improvements to it by understanding what the public does now and where they want to go. So this is one of the puzzle pieces, if you will, to answering those questions. So today, Jen, she's going to help us pose some questions, and we're going to have a discussion on where we want to go. Obviously, we would like more people, but here from the public, but I don't see it right now as this conversation. I think is still really important, and also we have the technology for people who can review this and take it to this meeting. So, are there any questions right now?
Did the links get activated
The links
to the meeting and to this?
yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So for public participation, just on a note on there, there's almost a request just because of security reasons. So we couldn't broadcast the link out to the world.
Okay.
We saw how it was advertised was request a link.
Okay.
So we brought, we advertised it that way, but unfortunately didn't get any response. I mean, it is a close day, so I couldn't understand. But again, people who are watching and will watch this, you will have 3 more days opportunities to provide engagement opportunities. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Jen, and she'll make this broad plan.
All right. Do we have PowerPoint that you can pull up?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Okay. So while he's pulling that up, just a quick introduction. So I'm Jen Sis, Director at Stratford Regional Planning Commission. I am your facilitator for the first night this week. We've got different staff lined up for each evening. Carrie Deers has recently joined us as a project manager for this project and one other. So she'll be here tomorrow evening to meet with the planning board. And then, let's see, on Wednesday evening, Pat Pimentel, who's our assistant director, will be facilitating with the master plan steering committee. And then on Thursday, Autumn Scott, who's one of our regional planners with a focus on environmental planning, she will be here to facilitate with the Conservation Commission. Hopefully we see a few more people as the week goes on. So,
Just make sure I can,
there we go. Great.
start deleting them all.
Yeah, go just back.
I just want to make sure how,
Oh.
there we go, how I
Okay.
did,
Gotcha.
I don't think anyone's online, so we'll just do this. Speed slow.
All right. So this is part of a larger project and effort. We are working with the town to do a comprehensive update of the master plan. There are a few different pieces of it, and so the timing is a little bit shifted for some of the chapters. The town has a HOP grant to assist with the housing chapter, a coastal resilience grant to help with the downtown Riverfront section of the plan, and a source water protection grant to work on the open space, or what will ultimately get incorporated into the comprehensive master plan, a land and water conservation chapter. So we're starting with those that have those grant dollars that we need to move forward sooner with that timeline, and as well as the vision, the overall vision. And so this week the goal is to meet with the different committees to talk about an overall vision for the town of Newmarket, not just as it pertains to any particular chapter, but then also to talk a little bit more about a vision for that particular section. So we'll have a few different questions that we'll work through. And this is building on some of the past research and outreach and engagement that's been done thus far. So many of you, I'm not sure, I wasn't there, and we're at the March 16th workshop, which I heard was really fantastic. And then we've had 429 responses to the online survey, which folks could also do in paper format, which is really excellent. So we've already got like some themes that are coming through. I will note that a lot of what the focus has been on thus far, though, has been on that balance between housing and conservation. So that's kind of leading some of the responses that we've seen thus far. So you want to go ahead? So we're going to go through a series of 3 questions. And some of it may seem a little silly now because we don't have any members of the public here, but that's okay. It's good, it'll help us get our ideas flowing. So we'll start with a question, and then you'll have a few minutes to think of some answers. There's some sticky notes on the shelf in front of you, as well as some sticky dots. So questions 1 and 3 will use sticky notes, and question 2 will use sticky dots. So we'll all get our exercise here as well. So I'll give you a question, you'll get a few minutes to think about your answer to that question, write it down, and then we'll collect, we'll kind of look at what we have, it'll be pretty quick to synthesize, and then we'll have some time to just discuss it more generally. So we'll just go through that for each of the 3 questions. So, with no further ado. All right, the first question, we're thinking real big picture, overall vision, not just limited to the downtown waterfront area. If you had to pick 5 words to describe your vision for Newmarket in the next 5 to 10 years, how would you describe Newmarket?
we just gonna read these, or we're gonna hang them up?
I'll
Is
bring
that-
them up.
Okay,
We'll do a little,
and we voted, so hopefully you can read my writing.
all right. All right. All right, so now we're gonna try and see if we can spot some themes. I already saw a couple words that kind of were similar, and I don't have a microphone, do I? I do, okay. So we're well recorded now. Okay, so I'm seeing a couple historic and heritage and vibrant, multi-generational,
Can't read my-
welcoming, walkable, diverse, historic, proud, recreational, multi-generational, cultural development, progressive, leading, united. Is that envied?
Right, yeah.
Yes, okay. Heritage, historic importance, vibrant, growing, changing, community, charm, natural, affordable. This is gonna go really fast because you guys just identified several of the themes that we were gonna ask you to prioritize in the next question. So, okay, this is kind of fun. Do you want to take another minute or two, maybe, want to kind of add some thoughts or ideas or have some conversation? Did someone share something that you didn't think of and you're like, oh, that's a great idea?
Anyone surprised?
Anyone surprised?
No, but so that, when I said community, I think it kind of meant the same thing as some of the other words there, right? I forget what they said, but it
Yeah,
was the same type of thing.
yeah. It all kind of pulls together with like that sense of community, like not just our built environment, but also the people.
I think I'd add, so I had put down affordable, but I think it should be more like affordable with a question mark.
Okay.
I think that's, if there's something to be discussed right now at our community level, is it's getting expensive to live here. So I
Yeah.
hope that we are affordable moving forward. I hope that we have that option for people.
Affordable as compared to Portsmouth.
Yeah, or affordable compared to some, but
Not to call anyone out, I'm curious who wrote envied and envied. For what reason would Newmarket be envied?
I think I would like to have other communities look at Newmarket as being a leader in how Newmarket is doing it.
Joe.
Any other thoughts, comments? All right, cruising to the next one. So you'll notice some repeats of words. So this is good because, so the words up here on the board and on the next chart, these are some different themes that have been identified along the way for us to think about and try and identify what are those things that tie all of the different sections of the master plan together, regardless of whether we're talking about cultural and historic resources, open space, housing, economic development, transportation. Are there some themes that tie through all of those topics? And some of these are words that you already used in the prior question when you were talking about your vision for the future. So one of the things we wanted to do is just try and help narrow down that list and better understand. So you have 5 sticky dots. We've got the same list of words up here on the flip chart. And what we were going to ask each of you to do is vote. Use your sticky dots to pick 5 words or 5 themes. If there's something missing, grab a sticky note and add it to the board with if there's a word missing.
So I'm wondering for facilitation, just a suggestion, I could be the man in white and I'm calling one. I can just say, okay, what's your top five? And I do top five. Just go down the list, just so for our audience sake. So
Sure.
if that works for everyone.
All right.
Not that I
Works.
call people out one at a time, but I'm going to.
I'll go first.
Thank you. Blue, got blue.
Color doesn't matter
Okay,
here.
other than that.
They're all
They're all
random.
purple or blue anyway.
We chopped up a bunch of sticky dots and stuck them all in a big envelope and I just spread them on the counter.
All right, we'll start at this end. Joe, top five.
What, the definition of connectivity, just connect to other communities, is that?
That's a great question.
What should
So
it
how
be?
would you define it?
Or is
I
the
would-
internet connectivity?
It could be any of those. So like when we think about connectivity, and again, think about it ties to different chapters, right? So if we're talking about infrastructure, we might be talking about how you get from point A to point B. It may be like water and sewer connectivity to other communities and building redundancy. It might be connectivity between people. It could be anything, but that's a good piece for us to kind of better define as we're talking about different words.
Well, I look at it as, when I say connectivity, our relationship with Durham, Dover, Newfields.
Like regional.
Right, we can't go it alone, so connectivity would be one of them.
Joe, if you wouldn't mind, sorry, could you write that on the sticky note too? You just write what you think the definition of connectivity
Yeah.
is. That'd be good for our reference.
Yeah, I'm gonna take some notes.
Great. So Joe, connectivity is one of them? So
Yes.
Sticky dot.
Again, with my definition of it,
Yep, that's good.
social inclusion, and resilience. Yeah, maybe a definition of vibrancy, but vibrancy and cultural diversity. Then I would also add another one up there. I'd say leadership. I would like Newmarket to be a leading community.
So I think what we're going to do here with the sticky notes is, definitions, one posted, and then other terms on another, and then we can just add them here, unless you want.
We can use a different color.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
Cool.
On board.
All right. 2, 3, 5. Sam, you're up.
I'll start with affordability. Go with social inclusion. Let's do economic opportunity. I think vibrancy and accessibility.
Is there anything missing?
I think it's a decent list. I do like Joe's idea about leadership. When you look up what are people doing in the area, who do you look up? Why not us? So
Can we put like a little dot next to leadership? Like, because I agree with that as well.
Yeah.
That would be one of the terms.
You can use it while you're terms.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
I ran out of dots.
Yeah, oh, you ran out of dots.
I use my allotted dot allowance.
So I'll use a dot for leadership. I also, I have historical importance, because I feel like the whole, not only down to the riverfront, but if you drive out, you see so many farms and, so many other, properties that have been there, the stone walls, and so I think, we don't have that much of a seacoast mileage-wise, but the communities that we do have that are on water have certainly, are important, so.
So really put a dot in that term?
Yes,
Historical importance?
yep. And then I also like the connectivity, with Joe's definition of vibrancy. And,
One more.
geez. It's hard. I think economic opportunity. Because I think a lot of that is tied, the economic opportunities here tied to so many of those other developments. You're
Okay.
on.
I would put social inclusion. Cultural diversity. Age friendliness. And you're looking at my gray hair, but I was also on the school board. And I think we need to be mindful of, we can price ourselves out of being a place where families can come if we get to be too expensive. So we've got to look at age friendliness all along the age spectrum and want to make it accessible for folks who are my age or older, but also for families to bring their family and their children in here. And keep it so the tax base is such that the rest of us can manage to pay for the schools. And let's see, leadership. Because I do think we're doing good things here that other communities could say, oh yeah.
Mhm.
And connectivity. I think our libraries are already doing a great job of doing community things with the surrounding small communities that are nice connectivities.
I agree. We do have a great library, great team there. So it looks like our top five, these top five, connectivity, social inclusion, vibrancy. And we have a couple, 3 twos. So cultural diversity, economic opportunity, and leadership.
Connectivity, social inclusion, vibrancy as our top
As the top 3.
three.
Yeah. And then remaining 2 or 3 would be economic opportunity, cultural diversity, and leadership. So if you had to pick one of those 3 that has 2 dots, what would it be? Start with you, Joe.
One of them. Again, back to vibrancy, to me encompasses a couple of things: accessibility, age friendliness. So vibrancy encompasses a number of things. But again, I would like Newmarket to aspire to being a leader among communities.
Vibrant leadership, how about that?
Right?
So, do you think more of a leadership piece, or?
I think vibrancy, on the understanding that vibrancy encompasses a number of things. Like we say, accessibility, being accessible to people, being age friendly, having social inclusion. So I would say vibrancy, covering those things over leadership, but
Okay.
we should not.
Well, it looks like what? Oh, wait, 1, 2. Yeah, I think vibrancy is already there.
Oh, vibrancy's
so-
already
Yeah.
there.
So we
Okay,
got-
then
we got
the next
time.
thing would be leadership. I'm sorry.
Leadership, okay. I'm gonna put a little dot here.
So we're trying to sort out between cultural diversity and economic opportunity, the ones that have 2.
And
Yeah,
leadership.
2, so economic
leadership.
opportunity, cultural diversity,
And leadership.
But again, would vibrancy include cultural diversity? We have a vibrant community.
And a vibrant community with economic opportunities as well. I mean, I feel like a lot of those other topics can all be encompassed under,
So maybe we just have 3 top themes.
Mm.
And that pulls in a lot of those second tier votes. Joe, I did want to go back to your definition of connectivity, because I said I'd write some notes and I was not fast enough to wake my laptop back.
Well, I didn't give an actual definition, but what I wrote,
Okay.
Newmarket can't go it alone, okay? Newmarket needs to be connected with other communities such as Durham and Newfields. We're part of a regional thing.
Super. Okay. say, does anyone else have any other like notes on what they would see connectivity as?
I would agree with Joe that it's a strength that we have. I mean, our libraries are doing connective things with the surrounding communities. Our school system is already part of the Seacoast School of Technology, which is five school districts sharing capacity there to provide our students a tremendous vocational opportunity. And I just think there are things that we do with the other communities. I think that connectivity is covering those things.
Okay, so if we elaborated on social inclusion, what would that look like to you?
To me, social inclusion is all races, all economic tiers.
All ages, so the age friendliness, I mean, I feel that falls into that.
Yeah.
Cultural diversity.
So if we tie that to some of these other topics that we're going to be talking about, you know, in the different master plan chapters, like for example, if we were to tie some of these themes to the riverfront, what would you say that the connectivity or social inclusion or vibrancy looks like in relation to the riverfront?
Certainly, a vibrant community has parks and recreation areas such as the riverfront. Accessibility.
Any other
And
comments?
it helps bring community together, so.
It's such a unique place that you want to bring people to it, promote it, make it easy for them to get there, and then make it interesting enough that they stay there or pull the thread and go a little bit further through town and see what else is there.
Definitely an enhancement of what we've got, you know, in development, educational.
All right, do you have any other thoughts before we go on to the third question, or anyone else have any thoughts or comments we want to add in here to the conversation?
I feel, looking at, general themes, kind of related connectivity, social inclusion, connectiveness, vibrancy, kind of working off each other, that inclusion. So, it's almost like one definition almost in a way. So, that's an interesting observation, I think.
Yeah.
So, it's just, like I said, just something I just noticed, right now as we're having this discussion. So it's really, people focus, our community focus. And as you all point out, how can we do that in the riverfront? So creating those placemaking opportunities. Next one.
Yeah, let's go to the next one.
Oh, I'll get the computer.
Your clicker. Okay. So this one, I think is a seemingly small question, but I think we have an opportunity to dig in a little bit more. And so, what will the downtown riverfront look like in the next 5 to 10 years? So this is one you can use your sticky notes, and we'll give you a second to kind of think and generate some ideas. And then I'll collect and we'll put them back up on the board, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what the riverfront looks like.
What will it look like? What we think it'll look like 5 years from now, or what we would like it to look like 5 years from now?
So that is a very good clarification. We speak in the proactive, active voice and say, what will it? But we're really saying, what would you like it to look like? So when we're thinking vision, we're, that whole self-realization and actualization approach to it. So yes, what would you like it to look like? And then the challenge of the planning process, I'm wandering away from a microphone again. The challenge of the planning process is then to say, okay, well, this is what the community wants the riverfront to look like. How do we get there? And start identifying what some of those action steps are. So for this one, I think, and why I think there's a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of roll up our sleeves and be a little bit more concrete in what we're thinking here is I know that this is something that you are actively working on here as a committee. So I would say there might be some things that you are working on that we as an outside entity coming in to work with you and facilitate sessions may not be aware of. And so one of those important things that you're working towards that we need to make sure is included in this plan. And so not just like the little nuts and bolts, but that big picture for the riverfront. So it's an opportunity to kind of start shaping a vision for the riverfront, but also some bigger picture goals.
Well, I think we already have them. Well,
Okay.
maybe, you want us to write it down or just spit them out? Or-
Either way, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to, since it's a small group, do you want to just spit them out and we can put them on the flip charts?
Yeah, I would prefer that method.
Okay.
Okay.
That
Well,
works for
I
me.
vision, I would love to see in 5 years an expanded riverfront where we go down south or downstream, have a living shoreline, connectivity across the river to Heron Point. And if we can accomplish those couple of things, I think that's, at least we got something friggin' done and
You said connection to Heron Point?
connection to Heron Point. And there's sort of a connection there now, but it's not ideal.
Tenuous.
Hmm?
It's tenuous.
Okay.
Leave it open to everybody.
Yeah, it's the same themes, but
Yeah.
to me, I come back to like an experience and not like in a like Disney Universal Studios experience, but like not I'm going to Newmarket to do X, but I can go to the downtown riverfront and between walking to Heron Point, going to the library, eating downtown, getting an ice cream, whatever. I can spend my whole day here and still feel like I didn't do everything that was an option to me. I think we're close. Like all the pieces are there. It's just not a full realized picture yet.
The opportunities are there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down inviting with spaces people can and want to use. I think trails and seating and a space for performances like we have down at Shonda Park.
I think that's a good way of putting it. Want to use. Like people can use all these things for the most part now, but like when people come visit, hey, I want to show you this thing or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
like that.
And oh, go ahead, are you done?
Environmentally healthy. So that we design it so that it's not, we don't have limited spaces that are overused and that we are aware of our environment and maintaining it for the health of the environment and hopefully helping people understand the importance of that maintenance of a healthy environment.
Like an educational
Like an
component.
educational component, right. And then financially sustainable. I'd hate to see us put in things that we go, oh, geez. And that's gonna cost us this much in 5 years and this much in 10 years, and replacement cost in 25 years is gonna be beyond our capability, and we're gonna have to condemn it because we haven't been able to afford the maintenance. So financially sustainable.
I know. I think everybody's kind of touched on it. I think the big thing too is, as Ingrid just stated, the maintaining. You know,
Yeah,
I feel
okay.
like, you know, Shanda Park really needs to be addressed. And the little bit of river that we do have in front of Lang's Wharf, you know, there's bricks that are coming up and, you know, trees that have fallen down, and I'm not sure who's responsible for that, but it just, you know, it looks beautiful and then it's not maintained. And again, you don't want to bite off more than what you can chew. You don't want to, you can't maintain it, then don't go forward with it, so. And the living shoreline, I think, is also great with the whole educational aspect, because we know our coastal areas are going to be changing, have changed, and will continue to change in the future.
Other thoughts, other comments?
If we can do half of that, that's.
I know. Fair enough, fair enough. So, okay, so I don't know, prioritization isn't necessarily part of the game here today, but if we were to say like one thing, if you could only do one thing, what would be the most critical?
Environment, clean the environment, or one of them was something about cleaning. I mean, really, that has to be done before we can do really anything. I think specifically,
Okay,
Yeah, I agree.
in my book there.
I think that would have the most immediate impact, you know, if you make,
that's the most immediate impact. If we were to think like big picture vision, actually we kind of always do that. You guys are quick. We have this designed for more people. Sorry. That's okay.
I think the
Um,
eclipse probably interfered with a lot of that.
I think so,
Did
yeah,
not know
I
it
was
was eclipsed.
curious as I was headed here,
Yeah.
how many folks will be here.
Mm.
They know we have several staff members out in our own office today. Right. Art, do you have any follow-up questions that you'd want to throw in here?
I guess more of a statement.
Okay.
Listening to everyone's comments. Like here, I think this committee understands the value of the Riverfront, and what it brings to the community. And I think people subconsciously do too. But what I would like to see is people value the Riverfront more than it already has been. So I think it's undervalued. I think people are discounting it right now. And the potential for it to be, but it already is, but for that recognition of how valuable the riverfront is to Newmarket, and I say in the region as a whole, I think we can strive towards that. And also tell them, I don't know, just came to me, I was hearing this comment, it's like telling the river story as well. You know, it's, you know, we're giving the riverfront a voice as well. You know, how do we do that? You know, and as agents maybe for the riverfront, you know, stewards. How can we be better stewards? And I just think making these investments, having these conversations will help the town in general become better stewards and value the riverfront more, not just downtown, but Warwickshire in general. So.
Bart, as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, I know the Black Heritage Trail of New Hampshire is looking at doing some historical things with the Wentworth Cheswell things, and the Gundalow used to, when the Gundalow was initially used, came up here, and Gundalow Company has done things out of the research station out here. Those kinds of historical connections would bring attention to why it was important way back when Wentworth Cheswell was the Black Paul Revere, that it was clearly an important place historically a very long time ago, and that and they recognized the importance of it for shipping with the Gundalow and making those connections with some established organizations that are already looking at the values of our river here.
Right, I think it's an excellent observation. Reaching out to, again, telling that story again. What has done here, so what has been done here.
Right.
So no, I think that's something to look into. And I know people have expressed the Gundalow idea of kind of bring back that tour, maybe, or doing something.
And I
like
think
that.
the Black Heritage Trail is looking
Right.
at doing tours up here too.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. No, again, it goes back to that connectivity theme. Regional. How we connect to our regional partners, not just from municipality, but organizations as well. So those are my thoughts thus far.
I guess I would just conclude with, is there anything else that you think is really important for us to hear and know as we move forward with the master planning process?
You all kind of know where I think we want to go, where
Yeah.
we'd like to be. It's just a struggle to get there. But
Okay. Okay, so that's actually good. So for us, that means like a focus on implementation and how we get to implementation. So let me wake this back up because
That's a great way to put it. I think there's pretty broad agreement. We all may kind of differ around the edges about certain things, but I think Bar hit it on the head. I think we all see a ton of potential in it, and it's how do we get there? And the master plan may be that a foundational block that you can point to of, well, the town adopted this plan. These are the things that we said we wanted to do. Well, here's the projects and the ideas that want to get done that conform with the master plan. So I think implementation is a huge part of where we're at.
do you believe we have a whole section on implementation that is a planned part of the scope of work? So that just adds some emphasis, and for us, there's different ways that we can approach that section, and so, what I'm thinking is we need to have some conversations and look at, what resources are out there, a little bit of a focus on what is a realistic time frame for implementing some things, what are the generally what some costs might be associated with different recommendations. If there are grant resources out there, trying to identify those and some of those things that we can build into that section. Okay. with that, I will wrap it up.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, you're welcome.
So what happens next?
What happens next? That's a great point, and a great question. So, not here and not in my packet of cheat sheets for the facilitators that come the next 3 nights. I do know that pulling all of this together, there is another round of public input that we're going to be working on organizing over the summer. But before that, there's going to be a second survey that we're planning to launch late in May, before school lets out and summer vacations distract folks. That survey is going to circle back on the vision. And so we'll take some of the things that we've heard this week and in the prior events, put that all together, try and shape something and put it out there so that folks via that survey can provide some additional feedback on refining that and help to decide what that final vision might be. And that survey will further delve into some of the other chapters that we haven't put out there yet. So those are some of the immediate next steps. I know there's a whole series of different work groups that are out there doing some different conversations, trying to gain some additional public input into the chapters. We're behind the scenes working on just some of the existing conditions data. Then after we wrap this next round of outreach, it's going to be really rolling up the sleeves and writing some of the chapters as we move forward. I know as it relates to the waterfront one, we've been chatting about some additional technical services. So we had some funding put into that scope of work for engineering services, and so looking at retooling that a little bit,
Yeah.
potentially.
So we might go for another coastal resiliency grant, just because of cost as well. Costs have risen, as everyone knows, over the past few years. And so we're finding that we need to kind of apply for more grant funding in order to complete the whole project. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, but the grant funding that we're going for is more for implementation.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Sure, and this way we can pass it back and
Yeah.
forth a little easier. So, I know the original grant scope of work included some engineering, more to help like scope a few different things and think more big picture about an implementation plan. But one of the things in talking with Lindsay is that it would be really helpful to do more of a phasing plan for that. And so that's kind of above and beyond what we had originally budgeted and scoped. And so the thought is to go back, request some more money, really focusing on that phasing plan component to beef it up a little bit.
Right, so since right now we have more of the planning, so think of it as a planning than you know, outreach, community outreach, and then the actual, you know, planning of what will happen, so the phasing of improvements being made or whatnot. So kind of split up a little bit once we hear from the public on, and through the visioning process of, you know, what we aspire to become, then we go through the actual planning of it. We thought we could accomplish that in this grant, but we found out, as Jen pointed out, from different firms that it's a little bit expensive, so more. So yeah, so I think we're successful. I think we're gonna have a conversation with DS soon. I don't think we have right now, but we're gonna chat with them about that and just see if it makes sense on their end, because we don't want to waste all that effort if it doesn't.
Right.
So and then just one more plug. As you all know, we're gonna have the Plan New Hampshire Community Design Fair as well in October. So big opportunity for us to get a lot of good input from the community.
Can I ask you while you're here, where do we stand with the Moonlight Brook? They were looking at the sources of contamination.
Yeah.
Where does that stand?
So it's a watershed problem. There's a lot since there's been heavy rainfalls, heavy rain events throughout this year, they're having a difficulty really pinpointing where anything comes
So-
from. Yeah, so, you know, I know Sam's been in conversations with this too, but it's really difficult to understand where these sources are coming from. So we don't know right now exactly pinpoint. We're getting different types of elements that don't make sense entering our Moonlight Brook, and it could be for a different reason. So we still don't understand exactly.
Are we gonna have enough money to complete this?
So right now we're going through, UNH is helping us out. We are applying for more money. We're in the process of doing that. So, and then hopefully through this process as well, the master plan, there'll be an implementation there. So I imagine we'll not be finished by that time. So it'll be a recommendation to continue furtherance of improving water quality of the Moonlight Brook.
Mhm.
Yeah, but we are moving forward there. It's just more research needs to be done. Yeah. Are there any other questions before you let Jen go? Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank
you all.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. My pleasure to join you.
Actually, sorry, I do have one question. How does the Plan New Hampshire thing tie with this, if at all? I know as we've talked through the master plan committee that the Riverfront chapter itself may be later in the queue for drafting. Is Plan New Hampshire and the results of that potentially going to influence that, vice
Yeah.
versa,
Right.
or completely
So I think it
unconnected?
was like almost like a visioning session, kind of similar to what we did on the 16th.
Okay.
It's going to be actually a 2-day event. And basically we'll take that, it's basically just what they've heard and designs that they heard from the public, what they drew up. We'll have some drafters there. And then they're just going to put it in one document and pass it on to us so we can analyze it.
Okay.
So, and then that'll be incorporated into the master plan. So, and then, yeah, so we're going to take that information and then take the information from there and incorporate it into the downtown Riverfront chapter.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, we still got more. We got tax signs.
Yeah, in general, thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Much
Do you mind if
appreciated.
I discreetly take some pictures of the flip charts? Or-
No,
No?
not at all. Sorry, I left my agenda in my house, so I'm looking at a picture I took on my phone.
You want mine?
Thank you.
Oops, sorry.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, in the interest of time and your own sanity, Bart, do you want to talk about signage? Did you drop these? I noticed as we walked
Yeah.
in that they were here, so.
So in front of you, you got two. One's basically unchanged, just a few words, different syntax, and then so we'll start with that one. The blue one says notice. So the Conservation Commission, there was a debate on the verbiage before the sign. Now it says due to water quality issues, concerns, enter at your own risk. Before we said proceed at your own caution, and that was looked at as not as imperative. So they said this would probably be better, syntax to use to communicate that you shouldn't be wadding in Moonlight Brook. So I guess what I would like from the committee today is to get your final sign off this so we can pass it on to the Conservation Commission. So the idea is, look, there's water quality issues in Moonlight Brook, you probably should not be swimming in here or wading in it. But we don't want to say it's closed off because there's still recreation opportunities in the lamprey, for the boat launch. And when people aren't swimming, but it's also not a public beach. So if we went for the prohibitive route, we would have to have a public, a reference to some health codes.
So this sign will be posted at Moonlight Brook, the blue
Correct.
one?
Yep.
Some spelling
So
corrections.
I was just going to say, so we have a typo here with
Yeah, yeah,
quality.
the typos will be
With quality, yeah,
quality, yes.
okay. You comes first.
Yeah. Yes, yes. Yes, yeah.
I don't like it. I thought I'll have to go back and take a look at the notes or something, but I thought there was some better wording that we had come up with.
It was like proceed at your own caution we used before.
I-
I think that's what we left with.
Really?
For
Does
you.
anybody remember or what we might
I
have said before?
don't.
Do you have the minutes in front of you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish I brought my,
That's okay. I mean, well, we're here now, so let's try to figure it out.
What was the verbiage that was used when the sewer line broke last year? There were some signs that were posted, and I thought that was really, Do you remember?
Director of Environmental Service.
yeah.
I think it was along the lines of this, just like water quality concern, basically. So you also don't want to like get too panicky. Like it's not bad, but you don't want to say like biohazard or like something crazy either. Like
And these specifically would be around where the culverts are,
Mm-hmm,
and then probably on the dock as well.
mm-hmm.
So we really want to target Moonlight Brook more so than the Lamprey, because people use the Lamprey for boating,
Mm-hmm.
kayaking. We want them to continue to do that, but we still want to give them notice that this area, thanks, Jim. That, this area leading up to the Lamprey, please do not, like around the parking lot, people have said that during low tide events, people have seen kids jumping in from the parking lot into the channel there. So we want to avoid that. So maybe put a sign there. And then also the kind of land culvert bridge there. Put it the Moonlight Brook side. Put a sign there as well.
Is there a reason why we chose blue? I mean, to me, blue is like friendly, not cautious enough. I don't,
Yeah.
that's,
That's good point. I thought blue was because we're not totally prohibiting it.
mm,
I mean, we could do yellow as a caution.
mm-hmm.
If we want to do that, that might be a better color.
I mean, if we know that there's bacterial
Yeah, I mean,
contaminants there,
yeah,
Um,
but we're not. I think where we want to be cautious is that again, we want to. I think red would be good, but I just don't want to have people think that they can't use it for boating. Not only Brook on land,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So
it's a tough line to walk.
Yeah.
Trying to learn the information, but
Right.
can't really tell them what to do either.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to. So maybe yellow's a better color, just
Yeah.
caution.
Yeah.
We're not saying prohibited. We're saying watch out.
And if we switch notice and write caution instead?
Could do that too. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any specific verbiage. I just looked at examples that other communities have done,
Mm-hmm.
and thought this would be appropriate. But I think caution.
Instead of notice,
Yeah.
Caution.
Would be good with yellow.
with yellow.
Right.
Yeah,
You
that
got
may
the
not.
color and the verb.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yep.
Where did we think these QR codes were going?
So basically, we would talk about, we would land on the conservation page and we'd have links,
Okay.
different links to, the issues and then efforts being done to fix the problem. So it's more informational. So we would set up a landing page or set up the landing page for the links on the conservation's webpage on the town's website. So we would just create a new kind of subsection. I think, once we agree on the signs, I'm not sure, we should definitely have a conversation on, because it'll take some time to do the QR codes, what that information's gonna be, but, what links we'd like to share.
Mm.
So, I think we can do that with Conservation Commission too, and just get some feedback, from this committee to those links.
And then the one on the wildlife, I thought we were gonna link the town ordinance that states what the fines
I'd like
are.
to have a conversation about that, so I talked to the police chief, and there was some, what's the best approach to have behavior change?
Mm-hmm.
We have some people that are, who are dedicated to feeding wildlife,
Mhm.
and we want to create an environment where we're educating
Mm-hmm.
folks. And there was a thought that finding people might not be the best approach. Even though it's in the ordinance,
Mhm.
we get that, but our resources might be better spent if we took a different approach. And we were having a conversation on who that person would be. There might be an opportunity for when there's parkland enforcement there going down, that there might be opportunity to, if anything's observed, to have those conversations.
I personally still think you need to put that it's against the ordinance, because I think I've expressed that there have been times that I've gone down there. You put this sign up, it's no different than the sign that's already there. And I think a part of that education is to let them know that the community is serious about preventing these things from happening. It doesn't necessarily mean that if the police officer comes down and he sees you feeding, that you're automatically going to get a $50 fine, but certainly a reminder that the community is serious about keeping this area safe and keeping the wildlife from becoming dependent upon humans and keeping the water clean, and that we do have a fine. That's just my own.
Yeah, no,
I mean, I don't.
Makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also recognize it's really hard to convince people that we feed the birds for our own entertainment, not because the birds need to be fed.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Right.
all you have to do is look at the number of bird feeders around, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my neighborhood, the number of pairs that come around.
Well, exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
I actually think that this is, we can probably condense. I would like to see "do not feed the wildlife" at the top
Okay.
in the red, because that's what you want people to do. You want them to stop that behavior, and then by doing this, it keeps our public parks clean. I don't know. I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
there's a lot of words there, and you have to minimize the words. People don't,
Okay, so
necessarily.
Just switch them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do not feed the wildlife in the
Yeah.
top.
Instead of
then-
that, where it's red right now,
Yep.
keep our parks clean, just, that's where it should say,
Yeah.
do not feed the wildlife. And
Or even, is it, I mean, do we put waterfowl or something like that? Or do not feed the ducks, geese, birds?
Yeah, there was a conversation on how to communicate most effectively with the last Conservation Commission. Making sure we're using words that everyone understands.
Mm-hmm.
Since we have some people that English is their first language might not know what fowl means.
Yeah.
So just making sure that all the words that we use are easily understood.
But I guess my concern with wildlife is that then, if we've got these ducks that are partially domesticated because they come up to you and they see you there, are they still considered wildlife?
Yeah, I don't say they are.
Mhm.
I don't think. Definitely they've lost their fear of humans.
Exactly.
So, which we want to prevent.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think it comes down to real estate on the sign.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to probably 100% get everything that we want, but what are the most effective
Mm-hmm.
language to use to
Mm-hmm.
communicate the issues and why it's negative to the park
Mm-hmm.
and the wildlife, to the ecosystem. you know, I was just thinking, you know, it is a lot of words.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel,
Again, I don't know if you need to have help keep our public parks clean. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know whether you need to have that. I would prefer to see,
Yeah,
you know.
can be a
do not
byproduct
feed
of the action.
Whatever there,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you know, feeding wildlife leads to blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
And then after that, to have, here's the ordinances,
Mhm.
potential
Yep.
$50 fine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
okay, so
And even, and you know, and I think most communities have it. I mean, even, you know, higher pollution levels within our waterways.
Yeah.
You know, I think
And
just,
waterways,
yeah, because
within
I think
waterways.
you find that with every community. And, you know,
Well, I like, they mentioned, you know, Lamprey River and Moonlight Brook.
Mhm.
Specifically mentions,
Mhm.
hey, it's gonna lead to pollution here.
mm-hmm,
yeah, that's what I was trying to.
mm-hmm. To try
Brings
to,
it
Instead of saying
Brings it home
waterways,
to us.
Yeah,
Mhm.
just no one understand, or just no emotion, I guess.
mm-hmm,
You know, as you would have more emotional connection to these two bodies.
I mean, it's right here rather than
Yeah, right.
being washed down to Great Bay, which is down there.
mm-hmm.
Big waterways.
Yeah, I could say Lamprey River, Moonlight Brook, and Great Bay.
Mhm.
It does slow down there. But you know, it's more of that location, so maybe.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not saying you need to add Great Bay in
Yeah,
there, but I
right.
think, yeah.
While we're on those bullet points, should it just be one bullet point? Do you want, you know, is 4 too many? Or, you know, or is it maybe 2 bullet points and then the ordinance reference?
Yeah, I mean, I think even increased risk of illness to humans and wildlife, you can condense, you know, the second and the fourth
Mm.
one,
Yeah,
condense it.
yeah,
That's right.
consolidate it together. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I would
like-
also, oh,
I like multiple bullet points.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Breaks
You know,
it up.
rather than just having one bullet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why
Yes.
bother with a bullet if you're gonna only have one?
Yeah.
and I think, you know, in the first bullet point, you know, we could do higher bacterial pollution levels or higher bacterial levels or something, you know, higher bacterial exposure levels. I don't know,
Nope, this is good.
because that's the main issue,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's the fecal contamination from,
And the wildlife component to
yeah,
them become more domesticated.
mm-hmm,
Okay, so I'll have don't feed the wildlife as the headline,
mm-hmm,
and then consolidate the first bullet and the second bullet.
mm-hmm,
Keep the third bullet.
Mm.
Does everyone like that one?
mm-hmm.
And then maybe the first, second, and fourth bullet. I think those are. I'll just wordsmith those, and then at the end, create the ordinance
Mm-hmm.
reference. So just for clarity, 'cause I don't know how, I can't remember. Are we good with this one, but just changing the headline? The
And the
color?
color,
Caution,
Yeah,
yellow.
the color, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and then the spelling.
And spelling, yes. Apologies. We do.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so the next crack at this, I was going to, you know, based on this feedback, bring it to the Conservation Commission. Are you all fine with them saying yes, give them the go at the next meeting based on the conversations that we have here today?
I am.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Betsy?
Is it something that can be circulated to
Yes.
Proofed and then,
Yeah, I can email to you when I work on it tomorrow
Okay.
after I
Yeah.
finish.
yeah,
Okay.
Joe, you good with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Bart. Thanks for working through it. Ingrid, not to put you on the spot,
Oh,
but
okay.
if you wanted to talk about
Okay,
the
yeah.
downtown business rain garden, I
Um,
thought that was a really interesting idea.
It is,
Something-
and there are more and more places around the world that are doing rain gardens, and I think people are not as aware now. I think it was maybe the first or second year I was here, New Hampshire Soaks Up the Rain. The Conservation Commission had them do a tour around Newmarket, and that's when I first heard about it, and it made me aware that the state requires them now. And as I walked around the elementary school, I thought if somebody wanted to know what they are, when they redid the parking lots and added on to the elementary school, it's really obvious that they're at 5 or 6 rain gardens. Some of them are kind of merging together, and it would be interesting for folks who go, what's rain garden, to see that it's what it is and how it works. And I thought we could potentially divert a lot of runoff into the river if we had rain gardens all around, wherever the water from the hill feeds down into the river. There are places, they don't have to be big, and there is money out there now to subsidize the installation of them. And even something as simple as, which is incorporated in rain gardens, is turning your downspout so that it goes into the rain garden instead of down the paved way into either into the river just because it follows the paved way down, or into any of the storm drains that then have to go into the river. So
so
I
rain gardens, do you mean like bioswales?
it's probably like a bioswale. I've not heard it called
Okay.
that, but when she did the tour for the Conservation Committee, she called them rain gardens. But it's probably what they are. And it was really interesting with some of the recent rains to see the ones that are along the highways and the ones that are there by C&J and the golf course and the end of the runway, where there's all that paved space. And I knew what that was. I'd seen it for years, but had never seen water in it until just recently. And for people to see that, yes, that diverts the water, and how we do that. I think the ones at the elementary school actually go into underground pipes, because you don't see rain spots outside the elementary school anymore, but there are all those rain gardens around the elementary school. And public buildings, there's a requirement for them, I think, and for roadways there are now too, and have been for a long time. So I thought that might be something that could be done, and encourage folks along, particularly the main street there, to do that, because it might be nice for some of those places that have apartments upstairs to have a little garden, a garden space, a green space, where maybe there hasn't been.
Is there any current like ordinance stuff, like, or
Yeah.
a lot of communities have it already in the
Yeah,
code
so
to some degree?
There's site plan review, subdivision review. One of the techniques, best management practices is incorporating rain gardens under stormwater management plan. So the importance of it is maintenance of the soils underneath, making sure it infiltrates correctly. And so when we're doing those site reviews, we definitely look into those and encourage those if they're indeed suitable for the areas, which typically normally are. So I guess when we want to make sure that when we're doing it along the down front or already built up areas, that it can support it. What I worry about is that maybe people have good intentions, then it just because of the soil, it just has nowhere else to go, so it'll just go up and then run off. So,
Anyway, yeah.
but again, just educating people on where they are,
Right,
where
right.
they are needed.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think it's an excellent idea. Also good for pollinators as well too, if you have flowers. So I think that's an added benefit. So there's a lot of tangential benefits to rain gardens. So I totally support it.
And look out, because my next campaign is green roofs.
Yeah, we are working a bill code on that one. But we're not quite there yet.
Could we just circle back real quick on the Shanda Park signage? There's currently no blue parking sign that leads people down to Water Street.
Yeah, like the wayfinding sign or the parking sign.
Like there's municipal parking down here.
Okay. There isn't one.
There is not, no.
Okay.
So,
I'll get to that. DPW.
yeah. All right, thanks.
Just kind of more on signs. One of the our efforts is going to be better wayfinding, and also resources on identification of parking.
Mm-hmm,
We are actually working on a parking study.
mm-hmm,
We were going to do it this spring, but time ran out because we're utilizing UNH as well for
Mhm.
students. So we're going to focus on the fall.
mm-hmm,
But in the interim, I think we can create maps,
yeah.
at least accessible at the town's website
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
that identify those parking areas or those facilities that are underutilized.
mm-hmm.
I think the last thing that I had for potential discussion, which we had broached at the end of last meeting, is just frequency of meeting coming up. I think personally, potentially to give some more time for the master plan process to string out and get us a little bit closer to the summer. I think I may be personally in favor of passing next month and aiming for June again before you get into core summer time. So that second Monday would be June 10th, I think, for my calendar. What do people think?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
I feel like we
Sounds
got
good to me.
a busy
Yeah, yeah.
fall,
Mm-hmm,
but I feel like we're kind of still waiting to launch a little bit here.
mm-hmm.
So yeah,
So you're thinking June, July, August, September timeframe?
I think we'll play it by ear, but
Okay.
like at least June 10th. So with playing New Hampshire in October,
Mm-hmm,
our regular meeting would probably line up for Columbus Day or
yeah.
Indigenous Peoples Day.
Mm-hmm.
So we might have to get creative about that. But I would definitely see value to meeting for those couple,
Okay, yeah.
depending where the master plan process is. If you guys need to initiate something for the coastal resilience grant
Oh, yeah.
by
That's
then.
one thing.
So.
Just so maybe you can vote on it now. If we do go for that grant, we'll need letters of support.
Mm-hmm.
So if you all don't mind Sam writing or endorsing a letter
Yeah.
of support, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's something we've done through past iterations, but if Bart sends me a letter, I'll put it on behalf of the committee that we're looking for that.
Do we need a motion?
We might as well.
Mhm.
We might as well, since you're giving me authority to sign something, so.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to authorize the chair to develop a letter of recommendation for
The coastal resilience grant
resilient grants.
through
Yeah.
New Hampshire DES.
Yep. I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. So I think that would make sense from an interval. Let's check in with June. I don't want things to
Okay.
string out too far, but
Yeah.
let's check in with June, get a little bit closer, see what's changed, and then we can kind of figure out what makes sense through the summer.
Yeah.
But at a minimum, I would see October and September as fairly critical to give ourselves
Yeah.
some ability to workshop ourselves into the Plan New Hampshire process.
I know I'm going to be busy in July, but August I would be around, so even as early
Yeah.
as-
Yeah, can be discussed in June. I'll let Dale know as well.
Okay.
That we may be taking a reprieve from May's meeting.
Okay.
So, okay.
All right, very good.
Thank you for everyone's input.
Yeah.
Much appreciated. Uh, all in favor of adjourning?
Yeah, yeah.
Just before we adjourn, just thank you to Ingrid and Betsy for re-upping for.
Yes. No, thank you. I wrote myself
By
a
the
note
town
and I
council.
didn't say.
Is there still a vacancy on the board?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
So I think partial vacancy,
Yeah.
and I've been
Mike
meaning.
was a non-voting person.
Yeah, I've been
Okay.
meaning to send something to Wendy because the town website still does not list you as an active member. So for the committee, it says basically one at large and then one non-resident, non-voting business owner, which is an incredibly specific member to try to line up.
Well, and even, are you even allowed to do that?
Yeah,
To have that criteria?
I think you are, because they don't vote.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not voting, so
It was-
they're just there to.
advisory capacity.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously that was kind of crafted for Mike to lean on his expertise, but I think it's pretty tough for anyone to fill that spot again.
Yeah,
So I've
yeah.
been meaning to have Wendy updated just to show Betsy on it as a full member, so that it doesn't show it as a vacancy. Because I got a question about that recently. So. But I can take care of that. and
Okay.
Update it.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder, Joe. Yeah, I appreciate everyone's time and input on this.
Yeah.
Obviously, volunteer stuff.
There's the old saying, be careful what you wish for.
Right? That's good.
So I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Yep, second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Okay,
Tim.
Thank you.